Back here at the Beach House Grill in Old Town Fort Collins, it's the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show here on the Colorado State Sports Network. The 2-0 Rams get set to take on the 0-2 Buffaloes of Colorado coming up on Saturday down in Denver. And Steve, we've talked about this before, but it's game 3 of the season this year, not the season opener to play Colorado. How does that change this matchup in your eyes?
Well, it probably was an advantage for us this year. I mean, the University of Colorado being a new coaching staff, we've had 2 games to kind of see them play and figure out what they're doing. When you open up with a team that has a new coaching staff, you kind of speculate a little bit. At least now we've got some hardcore data on the first 2 games to go off of, so that's probably a good thing. I like the game when it's the opener. I like it because it hangs over our heads all off season. I think it's something that we can talk about as a football program through spring ball in the summer. And I also think it's good for the state. The whole month of August it gives you a little buzz about that opening ball game. But the schedule didn't work out that way, and we're fortunate just to be playing in this game. And that's what I told our football team on Tuesday. This is a tremendous setting. It's one of the best settings in college football, and it's an honor to play in this game, and it certainly deserves our best week of preparation, our best game, because this is really something. It's a great event, and we're fortunate to have this.
Yeah, you've always been a proponent to playing the game in Denver, haven't you?
I just think it's good for the state. I think it's good for their program, good for our program, and good for the state of Colorado. And it's just one of those unique settings in college football, and I'd like to see us do it for as long as we can.
With John Embry, if you had not played this in the 3rd game and it was a season opener, where would you go for tape? I mean, John's never been an offensive coordinator before.
Yeah, but you would, and we did this anyway, but you go back, Eric Bieniemy was with the Minnesota Vikings, and John was with the Washington Redskins, and their defensive coordinator we haven't talked about, Greg Brown. I've known Greg for a long time, and Greg's a tremendous football coach. I mean, they are well coached on defense. So, we had to go back a little bit into Greg's background when he was at CU before, some of those games in 08 and 09 and at the University of Arizona. So you really do. You sit down in the offseason and those opening 3 ball games, you kind of go do your research, because even if the coaching staff's coming back, they're going to change some things. And you just got to look at them and do the best you can. But we're fortunate with CU now. We've got 2 games to base this on.
How about personnel defensively for the University of Colorado? Where do you think maybe you can expose them? Where are their strong points?
Well, I think, they're so multiple. They never line up the same way very often. They pressure from every single area on the field. They've got a lot of speed. I don't know that they have the marquee player, but they've got top to bottom. They play a lot of guys. They run very, very well, and they certainly pressure an offense. And so when you're pressuring an offense, it can make it a real up and down game, because you'll have some hit and miss plays. You'll slam a run in there for a couple yards, and then you may bust one for more than you normally get against a zone team, because nobody's in zone looking at the ball. So it's going to be one of those games, and again, I got all the respect in the world for Greg Brown.
Yeah, you look at their secondary; they don't have the Jaleel Browns or the Jimmy Smiths here this year. In fact, they were playing a true freshman in the season opener at one of the starting cornerbacks. Is that an area that you guys may be able to go after a little bit?
Well, again, a corner, if you leave any corner out on an island, you're going to go after them. Now, Jaleel Brown and Jimmy Smith were unique. I mean, you're talking about a first-round draft pick and I believe a third-round draft pick. So, that was one of the better corner tandems in college football. I remember we warmed up down there in 09 when we beat him. I watched Jimmy Smith, and I said, we'll have a hard time completing the ball on him. So, but it all depends on how much safety help you get over the top, who's involved in the run game. Are they a 7-man front, 8-man front, that sort of thing. And as the game goes on, we'll get a feel for what they're doing and what their plan is, and if we need to adjust, we will.
All right, we'll give Steve a little bit of a break here. When we come back, we'll be joined by a couple of the kickers for CSU as Pete Kanodiakis and Ben DeLine join us next. From Nelligan Sports, Colorado State Sports Network. Wednesday night, it's the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. Great crowd on hand here this evening. Out of the rain and down to the warm weather in here. A lot of folks enjoying a nice cold Coors Light. After all, they are the sponsors, so certainly drink up on Coors Light here tonight. Brian Roth back with you. Happy to be joined by a couple of the kickers, special teams unit here at Colorado State. We have senior Ben DeLine and the punter. Pete, they call you Pete the Greek, right?
Sometimes.
Pete Kanodiakis, one of the top punters in the nation, joining us here. Fellas, thank you. Appreciate it. Ben, let's start with you. And 2-0 start for this football team. Give me your thoughts on kind of how the mindset, how this team differs from last year to this year.
You know, this year I feel like we have a lot more senior leadership than we did in years past. And I feel like that is a key part of the team that is really going to help us succeed.
Yeah. How about you, Pete? Can you sense a difference between last year to this year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even just coming out of the locker room, we got our new coach, Clark, gets everyone all pumped up and stuff. And, yeah, like you said, just leadership this year. And we all have the same goal.
Yeah. Pete, you come from just outside of Tampa, Florida. How do you come from Tampa out to Fort Collins, Colorado? Was there a connection?
No, not really. It's just, I mean, football's football anywhere. And I like this coaching staff. They were straight up with me through my recruiting. And I like it out here.
Yeah, you certainly have a big leg. Have you always been able to kick the ball further than everyone else? Because you boomed one last week that was over, I think, 60 yards in the air.
I think
was that last?
50.
It was 50. Okay,
Yeah.
All right. But listen, we'll call it 70. How about that?
Yeah, we'll call it that. But no, I mean, high school, I didn't really punt, just straight punt until I think like junior year, because I mean, I wasn't going to go anywhere as a defensive back. I just didn't have the speed, so my dad convinced me to just punt, and then it all worked out for the best.
Were you a soccer player at all?
No. I mean, just when I was little,
Yeah.
but no.
Yeah. How about you, Ben? Ben, of course, senior place kicker from Steamboat Springs. Were you a soccer player at all?
I was. I played soccer up till my freshman year of high school, and that was when I first began kicking. My main sport in high school, though, was wrestling. I was a wrestler, and wrestling is probably half the reason I'm a decently okay kicker, because it's all mental.
Sure. And of course, there was no doubt in your mind where you were going, right? You were coming to Colorado State the entire way.
Yeah. You know, I'm studying animal science, and they have a phenomenally good ag school. So, if I wasn't kicking, I probably would have ended up going to school here anyway.
Of course, Ben's dad, Steve DeLine, a former Colorado State Ram, a former kicker. Did your dad ever kind of push you into kicking, or is it something that you wanted to give a shot?
You know, I grew up with uprights in my backyard, so we're out in the field, I should say. But no, he never really pushed me towards anything.
Yeah.
It just came naturally to me, I guess. It's in my blood.
Ben, give me your thoughts on the Colorado game coming up here on Saturday. I know it's always big for in-state kids.
Oh yeah, you know, I grew up going down and watching CU and CSU play, and it's being my senior year. There's no ounce of me is going to go out of there with anything left on that field.
Yeah. How about you, Pete? A little extra energy around the locker room because it is Colorado this week?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I was a part of that 09 win when we went down to Boulder and when the fans stormed the field. I don't think I have a better feeling than that.
Yeah.
That being my first game. So, and then you just being here, you grow a little hatred toward those guys down there. So, yeah, we're all excited, definitely.
All right, fellas. Hey, appreciate you guys coming by tonight. Pete Konodiakis, CSU punter, and place kicker Ben DeLine.
Thank you.
Pivotal parts of Colorado State. All right, when we come back, we'll be joined by Larry Lewis, special teams coach and running backs coach for CSU. From Nelligan Sports, Colorado State Sports Network. Back here in the courtside Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. Beach House Grill in Old Town Fort Collins. Brian Roth back with you. Larry Lewis joining us, Ram assistant coach. Coaches special teams and the running backs. I'm trying to look up, Pete said he didn't kick 160 yards last week, so I'm looking at it, and it was 50.
It was 50.
He was right.
Yes.
I know. I know. I was thinking about the 69-yarder, I guess maybe he had last year, but boy, kid has a strong leg.
He does. Usually those guys are very accurate with what they did kick.
That's right. That's right. You don't ever walk off the golf course and don't know what you shoot. In other words, you don't always punt the ball away and don't know how far it went. But when he gets a hold of one, coach, he has one of the strongest legs in the nation.
He really does. And I'm looking for that breakout game right now because I see what he does in practice every day, and when that ball turns over, it's spectacular just to watch. It just hangs up in the air and turns over, and more than a 5-second hang time, and that's phenomenal.
Yeah, I remember sitting at the sidelines during one of the fall practices, and we all had our stopwatches, which, of course, these days are on your phone. And there was a couple that went to 5 seconds, which is out of this world. I mean,
it is, and the beauty to that is that it really helps our coverage, because if you get a 5-second hang time, I don't care who's returning, we're going to be able to get down and cover it and not give up any kind of a return. And to me, that's a big part of what we do.
Yeah. Ben, of course, able to knock through a field goal on Saturday against UNC, and I know Coach Fairchild has said he's been striking the ball well here all through fall.
Really well, and take a look at the 4 touchbacks out of the 5 kickoffs that we had over the weekend, and to me, again, that takes away a part of the other team's attack when you can put one in the end zone.
Yeah, no question about that. Well, Larry, you're also coaching running backs here this year. Well, that's a tough job. You get 3 guys like Good, Carter, and Woke.
It's a great year to step into that position.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
You just slide right in, and you have 3 experienced guys.
Yeah.
Talk about that, and because I know that was kind of one of those competitions people were watching, and you're going with Carter, and obviously he's a kid who's a senior and comes back from last year. But that was a close competition, wasn't it, throughout the fall?
Well, it still is, and I think that they, all 3 of them, compete every day. And it's one of those competitions where when the other one is in, they really root for each other. They really help each other out. And it's a great group of guys to coach, because they get along so well, and really they're teaching me as much about the position as I've done anything for them. And just watching them work together, I think it's a phenomenal working relationship with us, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Derek Good, here's a kid that is former walk-on, and he kind of comes from out of nowhere to return kicks for you last year, and all of a sudden that kind of spurred the coaching staff, say, we might have to look at this kid as a running back.
No doubt. When you got that kind of explosion, you really got to, take a look and say, hey, what else can you do for us? He's always been a big part of our special teams, our coverage units, and our return units, and to be able to have him at that spot on kickoff return has really, really opened up a lot of things for us.
What did you see that you liked from this past Saturday against Northern Colorado?
Well, I really felt that all 3 backs played very, very hard, and really that's my biggest deal with them is go out and just give me your all, give us your best. I want to see what your best is today, and I felt that all 3 really got after it.
Yeah, how about coming up against Colorado? It's a CU team that's 0-2 coming into the contest, and they're going to be coming out fired up. You're going to get their best shot. Your thoughts going into the game Saturday? Well,
with all rival games, you throw out the records and throw out sizes and weights and everything else, and just see who's ready to play. It really becomes more of a mental challenge and one of really preparing yourself inside to step up to that plate, step in that ring, and really get after it.
Yeah. A final thought, and we have Larry Lewis, assistant coach for Colorado State, coaches running backs and special teams. Final thought, that last Saturday, you had Momo Thomas back there returning punts, but we were told Charles Lovett may get a punt return or 2. By the way, they both wore number 5 last week, and you realize you had Aggies across the back. For a radio announcer, that's not good.
Actually, Charles Lovett has gotten 2 returns. He's gotten one in both games right now, but nobody knew because of his number. So we're just trying to slide him in.
Well, they have close to Momo Thomas and Charles Lovett. Kind of have the same body type, I guess. I guess Momo might be a little more defined at this age, but.
Well, even Zach Gilbert didn't know when we slid him in the first game. He says, I think you pushed that one past me. And,
yeah.
Really just trying to give Charles a little experience, because I think he's a real talent, and he's going to be able to help us in the future. And the more games I can get him in, the more that's going to help us down the road.
Yeah, I mean, punt return first and foremost, I know, is about catching the football. It's not about returning. First and foremost about receiving that you better have trust.
Yeah, you really do. And we talk about, as far as punt return, the biggest key is we want possession of the ball. No matter what happens, we want possession.
That's always the key part. Well, hey, Larry, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming by.
I thank you very much.
Okay, Larry Lewis, assistant coach here at CSU, running backs and special teams. All right, one final break. When we come back, we'll be rejoined by Steve Fairchild from Delegate Sports and the Colorado State Sports Network. One final segment here tonight from the Beach House Grill. Coors Light, Steve Fairchild coaches show as the 2-0 Rams look forward to Colorado coming up on Saturday. Of course, thank you for everyone coming out to the Beach House Grill here tonight. Thank you to all of our callers tonight. And certainly you can get involved by getting online at csurams.com and throwing out an email, Ask the Coach, and we go to the email box now, and it's from Lance down in Littleton. Any chance we see Charles Favors or Eric Niederberger step up this week and play that linebacker position, as obviously you're going to need somebody to step up to replace Mike Sisson?
Well, we're looking at a lot of combinations at the linebacker spot this week. Obviously, we feel very, very good about Mike Arakpo and I think he's second in the conference in tackles. He's had 2 tremendous games. Shaq Barrett is a middle linebacker that's played that we think is going to be a tremendous player for us. A transfer there in the middle. It's a sophomore, and we'll get James Skelton back this game. So. Those will probably be the 3. I don't know in what combination we're going to use them where, but that's the 3 that'll probably start. And then Max Morgan plays for us. Aaron Davis is a true freshman that's playing for us. Charles played some. He mentioned Charles Favors. He played in the game last week. And when you talk about Charles and Eric, they're both second-year players. Eric redshirted. And the way you normally get on the field is you start contributing on special teams and kind of earn your snaps based on what you do there. So we feel like we've got a little bit of depth. Obviously, you can't replace a Mike Sisson, but I think we're going to be fine.
How about Max Morgan? And he played, I thought, well for you in the second half. A local kid, prepped at Greeley West High School. I saw him play in high school a couple times. I thought he was a phenomenal tackler.
I did too. You know what we liked about him? We had him in camp, and he's just a football player. I along with Austin Gilmore, I toyed all summer long with moving him to fullback. I think he could have a tremendous career in college as a fullback as well. But he's just a football player, and we saw him play quite a bit in high school. Him being a local guy, and I'm glad we were able to get him to come to school here.
You mentioned Austin Gilmore. Of course, moved him to fullback. He went down with a knee injury early in that UNC game. Status on Austin? Well,
we'll know more as each day goes by. He's day to day, and we'll see if we can't, by game time get him ready. And the same thing with Jake Levin. And we'll have some guys. We'll line up and be fine at fullback.
Are you concerned with the depth at fullback now?
You really can't be. It's just like the Green Bay Packers last year. They lose 6 or 8 starters right off the bat, and if you sit there, it is what it is. It's like the weather. If you make it a big deal, it'll be a big deal. If it's part of the game, and if you just accept it and move on, and some next guy up's got to play good, and that's the way it's got to be.
And nobody's going to feel sorry for you. No question.
We tell our kids there's no excuses. So you can't be an excuse as a coach.
Key or two for the victory on Saturday.
Well, I think there's no question defensively. We better keep Paul Richardson in check along with that back. Those guys can hurt you. Offensively, it's going to be a hit or miss game with how they blitz. We're going to have some plays in that aren't real good, but as long as we make enough big plays on them when they do blitz, we'll be fine.
All right, Steve, thanks so much. Best of luck coming up on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
That's head coach Steve Fairchild for Pete Kanodiakis, Ben DeLine, Larry Lewis, our engineer Bob Greenfield, Charlie Grimes, who is back in master control. I'm Brian Ross saying so long, everybody, from the Beach House Grill.